We're back with our beginner's guide to SimCity, in which I offer some suggestions and some tips and tricks to help you with your city and your cities. If you've been watching me do my Let's Plays, or if you've been watching me do beginner's guides, you've heard me mention the happiness loop. It's the way the simulation works in this version of SimCity. And yes, I've mentioned it, I've gone over it, but I've not devoted an entire episode to it. And I really think that it's important enough that we spend some time talking about it. So it's the middle of the night. I've created a little town, but the reason why it's the middle of the night is I want to demonstrate something in hopes that this visual demonstration, because I've discussed it, but I want to do a visual demonstration to really drive the point across of how the simulation works. We are going to click on the population tab. So the population tab will show now, even in the middle of the night, people are working. So your commercial locations are always up and running. Your industrial locations are always up and running. But the majority of your residents are at home. So as you can see, there are no shoppers. So nobody is shopping. Your commercial locations are open. Your industrial areas are open. But once again, the majority of the individuals are at home, and they're represented by the green bars. Starting at 6 a.m. and really reaching its peak at 9 a.m., we're going to see a shift as the individuals leave home and they start to go about their day. There, 6 a.m., our green bars have started to go down. The purple bars have started to go down. So what is happening is the residents of the city, the eligible workers, are starting a new day. They are leaving their home. They are heading off to work. We also see some individuals leaving to go shop. So we've got the blue, those are individuals going to shop. That teal color are people who are going to work. Purple are eligible students, and we'll talk about those in just a moment. But as you can see, we are going from a lot of our residents being at home to now our residents are going off to work. Almost all of our workers have now left. The bars over here are starting to go up as more and more individuals leave home and start working. So the way the simulation works, every day your eligible workers are going to leave home and they are going to make the attempt to go to work. Some of them will go to work in your commercial locations. Some of them will work at a service building such as a school, a hospital, police, fire. But the majority of your eligible workers are going to work in an industrial building. Every day, what they will do after they're finished with their shift, they are going to receive a paycheck. When your eligible workers finish and they have received a paycheck, they will leave the industrial building and they will start working their way home. Before they get home, what they want to do is they want to spend that paycheck. They will consider that fun. They will go and they will shop. So as far as the simulation is concerned, shopping is fun. If they cannot access shopping, they will, as a backup plan, they will attend a park. At the end of the day, if your eligible workers have been able to go to work, collect a paycheck, spend the paycheck, or in other words, have fun at commercial or a park, if at the end of the day they are able to do these things and then make it back home, then they will be happy, they will stay in your city, and they will pay taxes as long as the tax rate is reasonable. Your commercial area, same situation. They are always open, but they will get more employees during a work day. During that work day, what they're looking for is they are looking for people to show up, to spend money, to shop, but they're also needing to get goods shipped to them from the industrial area. And at the end of the day, if they were able to have people show up as employees so that they could be open, and if they could also receive goods, and if they were also able to get shoppers at the end of that day, they will be happy, they will stay open, they will not go abandoned or leave your city, and they will pay taxes as long as that tax rate is a fair and reasonable tax rate. Every morning at the beginning of the day, yes, your industrial buildings, just like your commercial buildings, are always up and running, but the majority of the employees show up during the actual business day. What they're looking for is they're looking for people to come and staff the factory so that they can produce goods, send those goods to a commercial location. If they're able to do that in the course of that day, then they will not close down. They will be happy, and your industrial buildings will pay tax as long as that tax is a fair and reasonable tax rate. That is the foundations of your happiness loop. Now, your residents, in addition to wanting to be able to go to work and to be able to shop, your residents also have the desire, the need for eligible students work their way from home, get an education, and to take that education back with them. When you see a house that is green, that is a house that has received deposits of education. That goes towards that happiness loop as well. So, in addition to being able to have eligible workers go and collect a paycheck and be able to shop, households also want the eligible students to be able to make it to school and back in a day. The following day, the process will start all over again. In addition to those things, of course, your residents want to be able to know that they are safe from fire, that they are safe from crime, that if they need to go for health reasons to go to a clinic, they want to be able to do that. They also want to be able to know that they can rely on having electricity. They want water. They want to know that they can send their sewage to be disposed of. And they also want to know that there is reliable garbage service. So, those are the foundational services that go along with that happiness loop. That is really the key, no matter if you have a city that's small, like this one, 951 residents, or a 400,951 city. That is the foundation. That's the key to this version of SimCity, is making sure that every day you are staying on top of that happiness loop. If you're doing that, your city will be happy. When you click on the happiness tab, the city will be primarily green or lime green. You will not have orange and red. And that is a sign of a city that is happy. The residents are going to stay and they are going to pay taxes that are fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable taxes for the high wealth is roughly around 10%, medium wealth 11%, and low wealth 12%. There are three stages, or there's three conditions from a tax standpoint. You can have a tax rate so incredibly low that your residents will be happy, but you may not be able to bring in enough tax revenue to provide the services that your residents need. You may have a tax rate that's so incredibly high that you're bringing in lots of tax revenue, but your residents are not happy, and over time they will voice their unhappiness by leaving. So too low or too high, either way can have negative effects on your residents and their happiness. The way this simulation is set up, there is a neutral ground in which you're not affecting your residents negatively or positively. They are neither happy or unhappy about taxes. And that neutral ground is roughly 10% high wealth, 11% medium wealth, 12% low wealth. You can go in either direction slightly. 11% for low wealth is fine. Say 10% for medium wealth is fine. 9%. But in order to get the maximum tax with the least amount of chances of making people unhappy is at this rate. As I was putting together this little town for this tutorial, I had to pivot. My original plan was one street with some residents, some commercial, leading to industrial areas. As I was putting together this one street town, traffic started to build up. I had some issues, so I had to pivot and I had to create some release valve streets, if you will, to get the residents to the industrial area. And in many ways, I'm glad that that happened because it shows that there's nothing wrong with having to sometimes on the fly come up with another game plan for your city and getting your residents to and from, say, residential areas to industrial areas, or in and out of the city. Or if you've got a specialization, you're trying to get oil or alloy or computers in and out of the city. Many times you have to come up with a new game plan, and I think that's part of the fun of it. But really what it comes down to is this version of SimCity, for all intents and purposes, is a primarily is a traffic simulation, a traffic management game. And when you are able to deal with the managing of traffic, it's going a long way to helping you to be able to deal with and to provide the happiness that your residents are looking for as they are trying to accomplish that happiness loop. That loop of every day your residents want to be able to go to work, go shop, go to school, go about their day, and the traffic, the road system, allowing them to go about their day and to make it back home in that same day. If your traffic is not allowing that, if it's taking them too long to go to work, to go shop, to go to school, if it's taking too long for your fire, your health, your police, your garbage to make it to residents, businesses, industrial areas. That's when you start to introduce that unhappiness quotient to your city. And that's when you start to see orange and red areas. That's when you start to see the residents complain about, we can't get to work, we can't get to shopping. Where are the parks? How come our students, our eligible students, can't get an education? Those are all the things that start to tell you that there is something going on with the traffic flow that's keeping your residents from becoming happy or staying happy. So as I am creating and building and evolving a city, I am juggling those two aspects. I'm juggling the fact that this is a traffic management simulation with the fact that I want to make sure that I am completing that happiness loop with my residents. For example, this road is one of those pivots. The original road into my industrial area was here, and it was backing up with too much traffic. So I had to come up with another way, a release valve, to get my vehicles into the industrial area. As I was building this city and as it was growing, this lower level road was backing up with traffic of people driving through the city to get out of the city, to get to the roundabout, and to get to the industrial area. So, in response to that, this road here, elevated, was created as a pivot, as a release valve to get individuals to this same location, but not having to drive through the city to get them to the roundabout. If you were with me for this city, for this particular Let's Play, you know that we had to do a lot of pivoting. This highway, this highway were not a part of the original plan. This highway, same situation, not a part of the original plan. I had to come up with a bypass here. That's, like I said, that's part of the fun of it, is coming up with different ways of figuring out, how do I take care of this traffic management aspect of the game so that I can have a happiness loop in which my residents, because this is a situation in which everybody is living here, and especially these mega towers right in the middle, that's a pretty significant crush of people trying to get from here to here and then back again at the end of the day. This is a very recent city. This is part of the current season. And when I look at this, my big pivot was the fact that I had residents here, and I only had one road leading to the roundabout. So I had to come up with a release valve, and that release valve is this road. And if you look at the traffic, you'll see it's getting substantial traffic that would have otherwise been clogging this road up. So that it's all part of that traffic management, so that you've got good traffic flow in your city. That good traffic flow is what's going to allow your residents to be able to get to work, go to school, go shop, go about their day, and make it back home by the end of the day, and to get up the following day and to start the process all over again. But yes, I have mentioned the happiness loop in my Let's Plays. I've mentioned it in parts of a tutorial on how to get a city started. But I really wanted to devote an entire episode to this subject in the hopes that it helps you plan your city and to understand how the simulation thinks, how it factors in happiness for your residents. As always, if you have any questions, if I need to revisit this topic, please say so in the comments. I'm more than happy to do a follow-up video to this. But otherwise, have fun with your city. Take care, and we will see you next time.